In our we learn about science and the Quran, but at the end of the day we all came to one conclusion, that the Quran is evidence of science. So what science has proved to be just recently is already proved in the Quran 1400 years ago when it was written.
But that doesn't include evolution, apparently.
No, it doesn't.
So what does it include?
It includes stuff like the shape of the earth, about the mountains, how they secure the earth.
And how in the sea the two waters, they don't mix, the salty water and the drinking water, so it's pure for us to drink. They don't mix, but they pass through each other.
Salty water and fresh water don't mix in the sea?
No, it's like
It's a natural barrier.
I was shocked that RE elbows out science like this.
So you think the Quran is a good source of scientific information?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Right, and you're the one who wants to be a doctor, is that right? Yes.
In France this week, they passed a law that you cannot wear the burqa. Now, I know you feel as I do, it doesn't really matter what you wear, but just speak a little about what goes on in the schools of...
Right, I mean, I think there, as you imply, there are much worse things than the clothes you wear. A couple of months ago, I visited a British Islamic school, one of the best in the country, and the headmaster was a leading Muslim in Britain. And I spoke to about 6 of the girls. Only the girls and boys are kept strictly separate, of course. And I learned that every single pupil in that school did not believe in evolution. And the pupils that I spoke to quite clearly think that the Quran is a superior source of scientific information than evidence. And they told me, for example, that salt water and fresh water don't mix. The reason? Because it says that in the Quran. Now, alas, I lacked the presence of mind to turn to the teacher sitting next to me and say, will you please, at the very next science lesson, get some salt water, get some fresh water, and mix them and see what happens?
Well...
And my guess is that even if she did that, and sure enough they would mix, they still would believe the Quran, because the Quran takes precedence over fact, evidence.
Whether water is salt or fresh, shit floats. Thank you so much, Professor.
Thank you very much.
Please stay around for overtime. Richard Dawkins, everybody.
Estuaries contain brackish water, and the best way to visualize an estuary is with this unique experiment. As you can see, we have 2 different colors of water. The red water is representing the salt from the ocean, and the blue water is representing the fresh water from the Hudson River itself. As they mix, you can see very clearly that the salt water stays on the bottom, where the fresh water lays on the top. This is because salt water is denser and thus heavier and will stay at the bottom. When you mix them together, you create the purple color, which is brackish water. And when we add brackish water to our mixture of salt and fresh water, you'll see that the purple layer stays right in the middle. Would you like to make your own estuary? Stop on by the Liberty Science Center and come to our Hudson home. We've got a lab coat with your name on it.
What seems like air isn't. It's just another kind of water. This is a halocline, a meeting of fresh and salt water. Fresh water from the jungle flows over the heavier salt water from the sea.
What you are looking at in this footage is freshwater meeting seawater, which was filmed where the Fraser River enters the Strait of Georgia in Vancouver, Canada. This is where the freshwater of the river, which is full of silt, meets the denser clear blue salt water of the ocean, making it look like there are two separate bodies of water not mixing. Now it may appear like the freshwater is pushing back the seawater and creating this boundary between the two waters, but that's not the case. The two waters are mixing, it just doesn't look like it. When the fresh water crosses the boundary to become salt water, it suddenly becomes very clear, which is why the boundary seems to exist between the dirty and clear waters. The brown murkiness of the river water is suspended sediments, which are silts and clays carried by the fresh water. However, salt ions in the seawater bind to suspended particles and cause them to stick together, causing them to become heavier and sink to the bottom of the ocean, making the water become clear.
Is this guy crazy? Oxford professor, reputation of one of the great geneticists, writes book after book, he's honored. What? I'm telling you, this is just a... You can't stop laughing. This is just a tiny sample. He has built a worldwide reputation as a great scientist supporting evolution on what? Myths, out of his imagination. He built this whole model here out of his imagination, but he takes it very seriously. I'd love to have you follow him. In the book, I take a little trip with Dawkins up Mount Improbable.